Hi guys, so I did a poll recently saying whether or not people wanted me to read, when it came to Captain America, whether people wanted me to go back to the Golden Age comics or start with Captain America number 100, go directly to that one. And I think the poll was like overwhelmingly for me to go back to the Golden Age. So I decided I'm going to go back and read all the Golden Age comics. So I'm going to read all the Golden Age Superman, all the Golden Age Batman, probably all the Flash and Green Lanterns, probably also Human Torch and Namor. I'll read all those Golden Age. And I'll also do the first appearances that I missed, because I missed a lot of first appearances. But anyway, so these are the stories that I missed when I was reading Captain America Comics number 3. So I read the first story a while ago. I don't know how good my commentary or my voice impressions were in that video, but yeah, I read the first story with the Red Skull in it. But these are the other 3 stories, so I'm just gonna read them all. So the Hunchback of Hollywood and the movie Murder. Captain America. Despite the increasing pressure from fuming Nazi consuls and other fascist agencies, Mark Karstein decides to film an anti-Nazi picture.
But Mark, think of the reaction abroad. The threats. And...
That won't frighten me, Parks. I'm the movie producer here, and I aim to go ahead with this picture. It's timely. It's truth. The action takes place in the Middle Ages, but the theme is the same as the situation today. Free men against a tyranny. Democracy against dictatorship. This picture will awaken the public to the real value of their right to think for themselves.
The dog. I'll fix him. Organizing his cast into a traveling unit, Karstein moves them to an old castle near Fort Lehi, on location. Somewhere in the old castle, that night, a weird, distorted figure writes a note. In a dungeon, hastily transformed into a producer's office.
Hello? Police headquarters? This is Mark Karstein, producer of Superstar Pictures. I just received a letter threatening me with death if I don't cease production on The Tyrant.
You were instructed not to call the police, Karstein.
The Hunchback, a deformed monster out of the Middle Ages, descends from the dungeon of death.
I wonder who will be the next to die.
News of the murder hits Fort Lehi like a bombshell. So it says, Fort Lehi News. Movie producer slain on location near Fort Lehi. Production on The Tyrant will continue, says movie firm. I thought it was getting too quiet around here. Looks like this is a job for Captain America. Speaking about jobs, they were going to give the soldiers jobs as extras. Guess it's all over now. Don't worry. Gable. So that's Clark Gable. That's a reference to the famous actor. I thought they messed up, but no, they didn't mess up, because... Anyway, don't worry, Gable. You'll get a chance to crash Hollywood. The news says they're determined to continue production. Most likely I'll carry a spear. With the permission of army officials, many of Fort Lehi's soldiers are recruited as extras in the picture in production nearby. Step on it, boys. We're gonna start casting. I guess they don't let a little thing like murder bother them. Look, there's McAllister, the director, and Marie de Turley, the star. Isn't she terrific? The soldiers doff their khaki uniforms for the colorful attire of another age. But he's just a common soldier. No talent.
You're no Barrymore, Talbot. I think I can use him in the tournament sequence.
Who is that handsome young man, Hannah? One of them soldiers they hired as extras.
Meanwhile, Sergeant Duffy has landed a comedy role and already has his men howling with laughter.
Come back, you wise guys. I'll teach you to make fun of me.
I was robbed, Cap. Look at this sissy outfit they handed me.
Let's get 'em moving, big boy. You're gonna see a man about breaking a lance. Okay. Keep your eyes open, Bucky. I have a feeling something's going to happen that isn't in the script. Okay, I want some action in this scene. Give all you got. Spur those horses and keep your lances down.
Camera, sound!
Dressed in the regal splendor of a medieval king and queen, Craig Talbot and Carol Young watch the jousting scene. Carol stares intently at Steve Rogers on the white charger.
That soldier Rogers seems to interest you, Carol. He does look impressive on that white horse.
The tournament begins. Suddenly, Rogers' opponent reels in his saddle as his fingers clutch at an arrow protruding from his chest. Ugh. Things are beginning to pop. Some killer's going to pay for this. But fast. Oh, sorry about that. In the ensuing turmoil and excitement, Captain America and Bucky discard their cumbersome uniforms and swing into action. Come on, Bucky. I think I see our man.
I'll soon fix you two snoops.
All right, William Tell. Now it's my turn. Ping! Captain America suddenly becomes a streaking blur and hits the archer with the force of a 5-ton meteor. Now start talking, rat. Why did you commit that murder? Who hired you? Crouched like an animal on a nearby roof is the mysterious hunchback, killer of Ebony Castle.
Dead men don't talk, Captain America.
Look out, Cap!
Why, that's Goris Barloff, the horror actor. He plays the hunchback in this picture. He'll play another part when I'm through with him. The star role in The Last Mile. But as Captain America rounds a corner of the winding staircase...
What?
That's a lovely fall. You boys would do swell in slapstick.
Springing up, Captain America stops the killer's head long descent. And you could double for a sound effect. A bag of wind on a stormy night. There is a sudden ominous rumble as the flimsy castle set begins to totter.
Cap, look out! The staircase is caving, and so is the building. Thumbs up, Cap? Or aren't we in London?
Glad to see you in one piece, kid. Looks like the hunchback's disappeared. Craig Talbot appears on the scene. If you're looking for that hunchback, I saw him run into Goris Barloff's dressing room. The movie colony buzzes with excitement as a concerted rush is made for the character actor's room.
Kill my actors, ruin my picture. Wait till I get my hands on Barloff. Where's Cap? He was just here at this second.
Meanwhile, Captain America has departed unnoticed to retrieve his suit of armor. I better switch back to this tailored tin can before somebody notices Steve Rogers' resemblance to Captain America. At Goris Barloff's dressing room, a large... So I should have said this when they first said his name, but that's like an anagram of the famous actor Boris Karloff. A large menacing crowd is gathered as a studio detective, Brogan, knocks forcefully on the actor's door.
Careful, Brogan. Barloff is no daisy.
Open up, Barloff, in the name of the law.
Bang, 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 bang. The door opens, and the angry Barloff emerges.
What is the meaning of all this, Brogan? What's this mob of gaping fools doing in front of my dressing room? Well, what do you want? Can't you see that I'm busy?
Can the temperament, Barloff. You pulled those murders. We want you.
There must be some mistake. Come into my room, Brogan, where we can talk this over.
There's no mistake about it. We've got proof. Here's the wig and makeup the killer wore.
That's quite possible. I keep a second makeup costume on hand. Last night I found it missing.
A likely story.
Know all the answers, don't you? Well, I'm gonna slap you in the jug.
At that moment, Director McAllister bursts through the door.
Brogan, Barloff, what's the meaning of all this? I'm arresting your ace horror man for murder. If you jail him, you'll ruin the best picture I ever made. He's the greatest character actor since Lon Chaney.
Something tells me Cap ought to be here.
Sorry you won't listen to reason, Brogan. Beat it, Barloff.
Wait a minute, Frankenstein.
No, you don't.
Steve Rogers finally clanks into view. I'll bet I sound like a junk shop on wheels. Hello? Do I hear Bucky's voice coming from that trailer?
McAllister's freed. Barloff, Cap. Brogan is out cold in the trailer.
Come on, Bucky. We've no time to waste. Meanwhile, the Hunchback killer surprises Carol Young in her dressing room.
Barloff, what are you doing here?
I'm going to kill you, Carol. Crush your beautiful body into a shapeless pulp. If I can't have you, no other man shall.
Don't come near, or I'll scream.
Your screams will be useless. By the time help arrives, you will be dead.
Outside, on the movie lot, Steve Rogers and Bucky continue their search for Barloff.
Help! Help!
What the? Come on, Bucky. That sounded like it came from Carol Young's dressing room. Gangway! Frustrated in his attempt to kill the actress by the timely appearance of Captain America and Bucky, the desperate killer dashes for freedom. Darn this cumbersome armor!
Once I'm in the castle, they'll never get me.
The Hunchback moves more cautiously as he finds an old watchman guarding the castle entrance, while scenes are being shot elsewhere. Disposing of the watchman, the Hunchback enters the castle, bolts the huge door, and shouts his defiance from the stone battlements above. Steve Rogers and Bucky, having paused to revive Carol Young once again, resume their pursuit of the Hunchback. There he is, Bucky. He's locked himself in that castle.
But how will we get to him, Cap?
I'll tell you how we'll get to him. We're going to storm that castle, just as they did in the days of the Crusades. This battlefield set is loaded with weapons. replicas of battering rams, catapults, scaling ladders. I'll play courier and round up the soldiers. To arms! To arms! Boy, if I only had a trumpet. Scores of extras converge on the scene in a setting out of another century. Captain America leads a siege to rout the murderer of Ebony Castle.
Oh, Mr. McAllister, it's horrible. They'll never get him.
Hey, Mr. McAllister, you're under arrest for helping Barloff escape. Where did Barloff go? Hey, what goes on here? A war? That soldier Rogers and the men are trying to dislodge the killer from the castle. The big soldier knows his stuff, but Barloff is sly. They'll have to dynamite him out.
Meanwhile, out of sight, a mysterious figure hooks a siege ladder to a side wall and stealthily ascends.
The fools! They ought to know that this place is as strong as the Siegfried line. But let 'em sweat. It's very amusing.
One of the extras spots the hunchback and someone else.
Look, someone's going after the hunchback.
Kill that broadcast, or you'll sign that man's death warrant. But the hunchback hears the cry from below and whirls to meet the man stealing up behind him.
A rear guard action, eh? I'll fix you. That disposes of you.
Meanwhile, Steve Rogers, followed by Bucky, makes a quick change in a hidden corner of the castle wall. We're getting nowhere with this siege. That killer can pick us off like flies from the siege ladders. I'm going to try something else. Without me? What a pal. Line up the catapult, boys, and aim it at that turret. I'm going for a ride.
Okay, bud, but I think you're nuts. Say, that's Captain America.
Aim straight, fellers. You only get one try, and so do I. I hope I don't get caught on the spire. Ow! A perfect 3-point landing. There goes the killer through the trap door. I won't let him get away this time. Captain America descends to a large banquet hall, where he finds...
Hey there, looking for the hunchback? So am I.
Talbot, how'd you get here?
I walked in through the hall door downstairs.
Is that so? Suddenly, Captain America whirls and reaches swiftly into a hidden corner behind a pillar. The hunchback's wig and costume. You're lying, Talbot. You're the killer. You'll have to prove it. I'll take this sword from the wall and finish him while he's still unconscious. Captain America regains his senses in time to see death rapidly descending. Why, you dirty! Now die! Talbot's sword strikes hard, metal where a moment ago Captain America had lifted his head. Cling! Oof!
I'll cut you to ribbons for that kick.
Wait till I get a sword. Then we'll both play. All right, Talbot, on guard! Then begins Captain America's most dangerous encounter. What's the reason for your murder spree, Talbot? Since I'm going to kill you, I'll tell you. Go ahead. I'm a good listener. Oops, sorry. Swine! Please, continue. I don't know if he's a German or not. I'll just pretend he's like okay, so Karstein was a fool. His pictures were propaganda against the Nazi cause. Being a Bund member and a follower of the Fuhrer, I felt my duty to kill Karstein. What about that other killing in the tournament scene? That arrow was meant for Steve Rogers.
Carol Young was paying too much attention to that tin-horn soldier. The guy I hired bungled the job and killed the wrong man.
That's all I wanted to hear.
What the? I didn't know you could fence that well.
Touché.
You could really fence all this time. You tricked me into confessing.
Yes, Mr. Smart Guy. The jig is up. Meanwhile, the castle door is being battered down, and Bucky, followed by Hackshar Brogan, bursts into the banquet hall.
Here they are. Brogan? Hey, Cap. Are you okay?
Come in, boys. The shooting's over. Talbot's your hunchback killer, Brogan. He's a fanatical Nazi and a jealous fool. Now he'll pay for being both. You'll find Barloff unconscious on the castle tower. He was the one who scaled the castle wall to try to capture Talbot.
Going back to Camp Cap?
Yep, the Sarge is probably dining away for us.
Sign that confession, Talbot. You got a big scene to play in court.
Back in camp, Private Rogers and Bucky buy a newspaper to read of Captain America's latest exploit. This bird sure gets a lot of publicity.
Yeah, he's just an overrated bum.
So Captain America's an overrated bum, is he? If you mugs had half his brains, you'd be getting somewhere in this man's army.
Yes, Sarge.
Too true, Sarge.
So, yeah, I'll read, I'll continue reading. So, Captain America's Foils the Traitor's Revenge by Stan Lee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Haynes, but there is no place in this army camp for the likes of you. You have lied, cheated, spied, and stolen. Your conduct is no longer tolerable, and I'm giving you a dishonorable discharge. Now get out.
Private Steve Rogers, doing sentry duty nearby, was watching the scene interestedly. He has never seen Colonel Stevens so angry. And Lou Haynes, too, was threateningly mad. The muscular giant shook his enormous fist at the colonel.
Okay, Colonel,
snarled Lou.
I'll get out, but let me warn you now, you ain't seen the last of me. I'll get even somehow. Mark my words, you'll pay for this.
Haynes walked toward the camp gates, muttering insults under his breath. Suddenly, Haynes felt a strong hand grasp his arm. He looked around in the flashing eyes of Steve Rogers.
I wouldn't act like that if I...
Oh, I wouldn't act like that if I were you, murmured Steve softly. You were insulting a man in the uniform of the United States Army. Here are at the camp gates. Now beat it. Haynes left, but there was a look of hate in his eyes, which Steve could not help but notice. Later that evening, Steve Rogers was sitting in his tent, playing checkers with his young sidekick, Bucky, the camp mascot. Bucky looked disappointed.
Gosh, Steve, wailed Bucky. Don't you ever lose a game? I've forgotten what it feels like to win.
Steve smiled cheerfully. I'll tell you what, kid. Suppose you borrow a book on how to play checkers and read it. That'll give me a chance to get some shut-eye. You don't know how tired it makes me to beat you all the time. Steve ducked just in time to dodge the pillow that Bucky threw at him. Why, you little squirt, he grinned. I had to put you over my knee.
Oh, yeah? You big palooka? You in what other army?
Bucky picked up another pillow and was holding it ready. Suddenly, Steve's smile left his face and he put his fingers to his lips.
Listen, he whispered.
Bucky put down the pillow and was silent.
He knew that Steve's sensitive hearing must have detected something important. And Steve spoke. "There it is again, Bucky. 3 pairs of footsteps outside Colonel Stevens' tent. We better look into this." In an instant, both Steve and Bucky peeled off their outer uniforms, and seconds later they stood revealed as Captain America and Bucky, sentinels of our shores. "Let's go!" cried Captain America. The 2 trouble hunters stole from their tent and noiselessly trod to Colonel Stevens' quarters. Outside his tent were 3 tough-looking thugs.
Will we all rush him at once?"
asked the first. Captain America saw that the man he was talking to was Lou Haines. Oh, so the other guy, so that guy would sound like, "Will we all rush him at once?"
"Nah,
sneered Haines.
you guys stay here and keep Chicky. I'll go in and tend to him myself."
Then Captain America noticed that Haines was holding a wicked-looking knife in his hand. "Not a second to lose!" cried the red, white, and blue knight, as he raced toward the 3 assassins like an avenging hurricane. Lou Haines was the first to see the twin tornadoes rushing at him.
"Take care of these 2 fancy pants,"
he ordered his men.
"I'll attend to the colonel in a second."
Haines' 2 accomplices grinned as they watched Captain America and Bucky speeding towards them. They took out their revolvers and prepared to fire, but Captain America suddenly picked up Bucky by his arms and swung him right into the 2 thugs, knocking their guns out of reach. "All right, Bucky, my lad," he cried. "See how brave they are without their toys." Then he dashed into the tent. Inside the tent, the American Avenger saw Lou Haines about to plunge his knife into the sleeping colonel's heart. There wasn't time for Captain America to reach Haines before the evil deed could be done. But with the speed of thought, he sent his shield spinning through the air to the other end of the tent, where it smacked the knife out of Haines' hand. Then the mighty crime fighter leaped at Haines and landed a blow at his head. But the traitorous ex-soldier seemed to just shake off the blow, and he grabbed Captain America by the throat with his tremendous fingers. As Haines forced more and more pressure into his grip, Captain America began to get weaker and weaker. His eyes grew dim, and it became difficult for him to breathe. But he managed to summon all his remaining strength into one last effort, and brought his right fist up under Haines' jaw with enough force to fell an ox. No human being could have stood that blow, and Haines instantly relaxed his grip and sank to the floor, unconscious. Outside the tent, Captain America found the other 2 crooks tied back to back, and Bucky was standing over them, patting their heads. "I do hope I wasn't too rough with them, Cap," said the gallant lad. The next morning, Colonel Stevens was talking with Private Rogers.
Rogers,
he said.
"This morning I found 3 men tied outside my tent with a note pinned on them, reading, 'Regards from Captain America and Bucky.' Now, you have the tent next to mine. Did you hear anything last night?"
"No, sir," answered Steve. "I was sound asleep."
"Asleep?"
roared the colonel.
"Captain America and Bucky mopped up 3 armed men by themselves and saved my life, and you were asleep. Oh, why can't I have some soldiers like Captain America in this army instead of you?"
But Colonel Stevens didn't notice the grin on Private Rogers' face as he left the tent. So the title of this story is really weird. It's called The Queer Case of the Murdering Butterfly and the Ancient Mummies, starring Captain America. Steve Rogers and his little pal Bucky study in their tent at Camp Lehi. These coming exams give me a headache. I wish we were out hunting crooks.
Yes, but passing your exams will help you get to West Point someday. On the other hand, I have a hunch we may see some action soon. The Butterfly, notorious killer, boasts of coming attempt to steal fabulous Egyptian treasure in museum. Meanwhile, at the State Museum, Dr. Vitrioli, head curator, receives a guarded shipment of valuable ancient Egyptian relics. Here's your shipment, sir. Safe and sound.
Good. Have your men take it inside. And be extremely careful. Nothing must be broken. These ancient relics are priceless.
That same night, after a careful inspection of the exhibits, Dr. Vitrioli closes the museum. As the great museum clock ticks away the passing hours, tragedy and death are about to strike simultaneously with the first stroke of midnight. The clock strikes 12 as the State Museum watchman pads softly through the eerie silence of the darkened Egyptian room. Suddenly, the old night watchman looks up in horror.
Lord save me! I must be seeing things! Demons! Devils! Ah!
A loud, agonizing scream rings through the empty museum and ends in a low death rattle, which fades abruptly into the thick silence of the museum. The weird creature follows up its cold-blooded deed by rifling the various exhibits of their valuable contents.
The great treasures of King Tut, all mine.
The next morning,
You closed the museum last night after everyone had gone, didn't you, Dr. Vitrioli?
Yes, Sergeant. I'm sorry I can't be of any service in helping you solve this hideous crime.
Funny that this butterfly lug should overlook Cleopatra's diamond, the biggest in the collection. Not so loud, Sarge. He may hear you and come back for it tonight.
Ha ha ha! That's the good one.
Suddenly, a huge lumbering form fills the office doorway.
Who's he?
This is Lenny, my helper. He's very useful, and he's got the strength of 10 men.
Locking his massive arms around a huge stone, idol, Lenny lifts it as though it were a toy and calmly carries his burden from the room.
That guy's a human derrick. Did you see that?
That very night,
Nothing ever happens to me. I always get these quiet jobs. The butterfly! Ooh!
The fools believed that the lightning wouldn't strike twice in the same place. Here it is, the diamond they said I could not get.
the butterfly's second crime goes unsolved as the baffled police search in vain for a clue that will lead them to the master criminal and his valuable loot. Although the killer has not been caught, Commissioner Collins' best men are continuing the investigation until they track him down and bring him to justice. Meanwhile, Bucky visits the museum, accompanied by his teacher and classmates.
I wish I was back in camp with Cap. Who wants to see these old museums anyway? I'd rather be out hunting crooks and... Say, what's this? Boy, what a spooky place this is. I wonder who lives down here. Will all be the butterfly. It isn't alive. It's only a Halloween costume.
Suddenly,
What you snoop around here for?
I lost a collar button, pal. I gotta get out of here and tell Cap my discovery.
Ha ha! Now I'd fix you, Mosquito.
Get out of my way, you big lummox. Let me down, you dumb blockhead.
Shut up, you brat. Now you'll keep your nose out of other people's business.
A few blocks away, Private Steve Rogers, on leave from Camp Lehi. Bucky hasn't shown up from his museum trip. I better look into this.
This is the butterfly speaking. I find that we need funds to transport our treasure to South America. In a few more minutes, you must hold up the city bank near the museum.
Later, as Private Rogers strolls by the city bank, he collides with one of the thugs who have just robbed the bank. Trying to pull a hold-up, eh?
Ouch!
Bank robbing is against the law. Or didn't you know? The other gangsters making their getaway run into the same hurricane of flying fists. Bingo! I hit the jackpot. This is what I call a good afternoon's work.
Hey, you'll come back here. Tweet, tweet.
Steve Rogers makes a hurried exit as the police arrive. Sorry, boys. Can't waste time answering any questions. I better find Bucky. I'd like a pass to search the museum for a friend of mine. Later, so this in Dr. Vitrioli's office in the museum.
I'm terribly sorry, but it's closing time. We don't permit anyone into the museum at night.
But
No buts. You heard what the boss said. Squim!
I'll hide behind old Harry till the place is empty. A few minutes elapse, and out of Roger's hiding place emerges Captain America. Something funny's going on in this museum, and I'm going to find out what it is.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Who wants to know?
I think I mess up your nice color suit.
Oops. Looks like somebody has to teach you manners. That dumb ox must be made of rock. He's getting up after that sleeper punch. But Lenny has something else up his sleeve. Captain America observes the sinister movement. Unseen by Lenny, he breaks off a tusk from a nearby dinosaur skeleton.
Now you die!
I don't think so, you sap. Stupid imbecile. I warn you not to throw that knife. You asked for it, brother.
I kill cow!
That was close. It came from above. The butterfly. So we meet at last. The butterfly's gun barks viciously as his bullets rebound from Captain America's shield with a ringing spang. The butterfly strikes the floor, landing heavily on his head. Dr. Vitrioli, as I suspected. You won, my fast-moving friend. I fear this is the end of the butterfly. I could have been rich beyond my wildest dreams. What have you done to Bucky? Trapdoor to cellar. Boy locked in mummy case. Uh-oh. I hear the cops coming.
Stop! You!
Sorry, boy. I can't wait. A few minutes later. Bucky! Are you all right in there? I'll have you out in a jiffy. There's a couple of air holes in this wooden kimono, Cap, but it's getting awfully stuffy in here. You caused me more trouble. Gee, I'm glad you're here, Cap. Changing back to his everyday clothes, Captain America and Bucky make their way to the street through the back entrance. It's a great day for justice, eh, soldier? The police just killed the butterfly.
You don't tell me. And it says police or butterfly killed in police raid. Say, that's great. I'm glad they got him. That case was giving me the jitters. I'm a very nervous person. What are you laughing at? Captain America is a very nervous person. You little rascal. And that's the end of that comic. So yeah, I decided I'm going to remake my Captain America Comics #1 video. So, well, I'm going to remake the first part of it, the first story. So I'll upload that before I read the static #1. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.